of the hardest conditions to shoot in is really harsh natural light, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Today we're here with Julia.
Hi.
And we are in Mallorca, Spain, and we are shooting in really harsh natural light on this beautiful finca, this beautiful property with a lot of trees, a lot of beautiful brick and stonework. And I'm going to talk about my 5 tips to shoot in really harsh natural light. So let's talk about it. Alright, tip number 1, and arguably the most important tip of the day, is to use your angles. Now, when you shoot with harsh direct sun, you can't move the sun, but you can move your subject and you as the photographer, but most importantly, you can move your subject. So, in this case, what I like to do is actually have my model first face whatever way she's facing, and then slowly rotate her whole body, turn, and see how the light on her face is moving. The shade is actually moving as I turn. Obviously, now we're fully backlit. We come around this way. Now the left side of her face is lit. And what I like to land on is somewhere, actually, come back here, Julia. I like to land, me personally, somewhere around there where it's a bit of a split light. I might get her to angle a little bit this way, where there's just a little bit of a catch light on this side, the shaded side of her face, but the main side is fully lit. This creates a really nice drastic contrast on her face that will then obviously add depth and interest to the photo, as opposed to just being over here where it's fully flat. This is obviously very bright and well lit and flat, but it's not exactly contouring her face at all. So I like to have it somewhere back here. Okay, tip number 2 is to embrace harsh shadow shapes. Well, I'll say that 5 times fast. Harsh shadow shapes. And really what that means is to not make the shadows your enemy. Shadows are not your enemy if you know how to work with them properly. They can be your best friend and actually add a lot more dimension to your image. So for example, use things like the model's hands or even their hair to really help to shape light and shape shadow on their face, predominantly their face, but also their body. And also use the things that are around you. Like on this property, we have a lot of trees, and that's exactly what we're going to use today to help sculpt some shadows on Julia's face. So for example, here we have Julia in the garden right here, and if she puts her hand up, for example, to block some of the light, there we go. We get some beautiful, interesting shadows on her face that would not have otherwise been there if her hand was down, which is great. Look at that. It adds so much more interest to the frame, and we can actually use that to our advantage in the shot. Plus, if we come all the way over here, this tree is also creating some really nice natural shapes on Julia's face that we can use to, again, add another interesting dimension to the frame. Alright, tip number 3 is, when in doubt, close the eyes. I know that in traditional portraiture, obviously having closed eyes is not the ideal look because eyes add a lot of interest and are the focal point a lot of the time in portrait work, but if it is really sunny a lot of the time, your model might have a hard time keeping their eyes open. And so if they have to squint, I find that actually having fully closed eyes can look better than squinting eyes almost every single time, and just lean into that, embrace it, and let it tell the story. Obviously, if it is harsh daylight, sunny outside, the vibe is probably a bit lighter, a bit warmer, a bit more of a sun-kissed vibe, dare I say. And so having your model have closed eyes and just enjoying her surroundings can look really natural for this style of photo. So for example, we are in these beautiful orange trees right here, and we have Julia, gorgeous outfit by the way, and if we have her closing her eyes and maybe have her hand up on her forehead, just like that, beautiful, it really can tell a nice story in this scene. Obviously having eyes open is a great choice too, but having closed eyes is equally as gorgeous. Okay, tip number 4 is to backlight your subject, and this is my personal favorite tip because I feel like most photographers are actually scared to backlight their subject because it naturally doesn't make a lot of sense, but what it can do is, well, a couple things. Number 1, it will add a natural glow or natural halo around the subject's body, especially their hair, and number 2, it just adds nice separation between the foreground, the subject, and the background. Even though, yes, it can be a bit of a silhouette and a bit harsh contrast, I think that's just overall interesting for some photos, including this. So in this example, we have Julia by the pool here. You can barely see her because she is backlit. This beautiful pool looks over this valley, and the sun is right up there. So obviously, Julia is backlit. But if you can see, around her hair and around her body, we have a beautiful hair light. I can't even see filming this. Gorgeous. And so when we take the photo, she will be more of a silhouette and less perfectly exposed traditionally. But in my opinion, it gives the photo a very editorial and artistic feel. So let's try that out. Alright, the last tip number 5, is to use harsh light to help tell the story. Now, it's really easy and a natural instinct to obviously light your subject from the front and to help illuminate them with whatever light source it is that you're using, in this case the sun, but sometimes that actually isn't the most interesting story to tell, in my opinion. All subjective, but using harsh light to tell the story can really be an impactful tool to use as a photographer beyond just lighting them straight on. So in this example here, let me actually come outside to show you what normally I would have done. So normally, I would be out here and I would light Julia from outside like this, in this beautiful door frame. And this is gorgeous, and I still might get this because of all this gorgeous shadows and shapes that are falling from these trees onto Julia's face. I will shoot this for sure, but what I find more interesting is from in here. If we light Julia from behind like this, and we shoot her through the window, we get the door frame in the shot, but again, she's a bit backlit, and it tells the story of the day, and tells the story of the sun, as opposed to just lighting her straight on. This, I think, adds more emotion to the scene, and is overall a better play for this image. Again, subjective, but the idea here is to help the harsh light help to tell your story. So let's shoot that. And those are my 5 tips to shoot in really harsh natural light. Thank you so much, Julia, for shooting today.
Of course, thank you.
If you guys like this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and the like button down below, and do not forget to leave a comment on what you want to see next on this channel. But until next time, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Ciao.
Good.